Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tuesday Talks. Tuesday Talks is all about getting to know an individual, finding out what makes them tick, what do they care about, how their career reflects that, and what keeps them going. Today, we had an amazing person on called Dr. Amanda. She is a health and wellness specialist helping women who are overweight prevent and reverse chronic illnesses. Now, it's all inspired by faith. It's not a medical advice. So let's get Dr. Amanda on. And hi, Dr. Amanda. How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing today?
I am amazing. Thank you very much for hopping on to Tuesday Talks, and thank you for your time.
Wonderful.
So I've done a short introduction for you already, but you're the best person to expand onto that and let everybody know who you are and what you do. And the biggest question that everybody has on Tuesday Talks is, why do you do this, Dr. Amanda?
Yes. I didn't hear all your introduction, but I am Dr. Amanda Adkins, board certified internal medicine physician and newly board certified lifestyle medicine physician. And I also am the owner of Enlightenment Health and Wealth, where we help women who are overweight prevent and reverse chronic disease. And yes, everybody wants to know, okay, so why did you want to become a health coach if you're a physician? And I tell them that it takes longer for lifestyle changes to actually occur. And it takes a little bit more hand holding than our 15-minute office visit would allow. And a lot of people would always ask me, is there anything else I can do besides go on medication? And I was like, well, of course, there's other things you can do besides start medication, but it's going to take a lot of work on your part. And, I'll be going into it a little bit, and then they will be like, okay, what do I do from here? But then I tried to tell them of my own health and wellness journey along the way, little bits and pieces, because they see me now and they think, oh, she never had to struggle with anything in her life. Of course, she's a doctor. She just made it here. But that's not the case. So I always tell this story, but I was a 14-year-old freshman in high school where we had to do one of those presidential physical fitness tests for people that were in the high school in the late 80s, early 90s. You may remember these things, but we had to actually step on the scale. And, you can look at yourself in the mirror sometimes and realize that you are overweight, but I didn't realize how overweight I was. I weighed 199 pounds as a 14-year-old. And it just devastated me at the time. And I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to let the 2 be the first number of my weight. And so I started on my own journey, first started exercising. People would laugh at me because I saved my lunch money to buy those exercise equipments. I don't know if you ever saw those infomercials that they have, like the ab roller or the thigh master. So I started out doing that. And then at the age of 16, I became a vegetarian. And the only other vegetarian I knew was my cousin. And I grew up in Indiana, so it wasn't like I was, in California where, people would become vegetarians all the time. But people would look at me and like, you're doing what? You're not eating meat anymore? Like, why are you doing that? Especially since my father at the time was a meat delivery truck driver. So we would always have like bologna, hot dogs, sausage, bacon, and one day I just decided, yeah, Mom, I'm not eating that anymore. And so
Wow.
she was like, well, you're going to figure out what you're going to eat. So that started my own journey, just trying to learn different things. And then people also wonder, well, as a physician, you must have learned about all these things. And I was like, no, in, med school, residency, we didn't learn a lot about nutrition, which is what I focus on mostly now. And that was after I went to a nutrition conference after I had finished residency and was actually practicing medicine just to keep up with our CMEs. And I don't know why I picked that one. It was just like, it was in Arizona. I always wanted to go to Arizona. So I was like, I'm just going to go to this conference, go on a little mini vacation and see what Arizona's all about. And one of the doctors there stated, you cannot out exercise a bad diet. And at the time, I didn't really know what he was talking about, but he was talking about eating more of a plant-based diet and actually whole foods. And then that's when I learned that you can actually prevent or reverse chronic diseases by eating whole food, plant-based, predominant diet. So that's my long, short story of
Wow.
why I now do what I do.
And I actually love that, and thank you very much for sharing this and expanding on your journey. And I can see, it's such an amazing journey from where you started, just realizing, you're like, oh, no, I knew that I was overweight, but oh my God, and then getting that pivotal moment, you're like, oh wow, I need to do something about it, and getting all the equipment out there in the world that you can get your hands on, right? So it's like, yeah, I want this, get me this, get me this. We've all been there in one or other situations. We've all been there, right? We get equipment at home, but and then suddenly turning into a vegetarian, and also in a place where I'm sure if you go to a restaurant, you're like, what you've got for vegetarians? We're like, salad, you know?
Exactly. That's it. And it had bacon bits and cheese in there. So
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, yeah, minus that, please. So I can totally see that journey going through right now. I know it's more acceptable now for, being a vegetarian, vegan, and also everything that you can think of is, yeah, because it's more acceptable, widely spread as well. More restaurants are catering for it, and we are more aware of what actually helps us health wise. And I love that you already touched upon that as well, that you going to that conference and where it was talked about, that how you cannot outscape your health by just doing the exercise, because otherwise that's the reason people also have these yo-yo effects, right? And
right.
they're thinking they are working out, they're doing all this, but they're not losing anything. They're maybe feeling fresher and maybe a bit more healthier by feeling it because they just worked out, because there's a new endorphins coming in, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not going anywhere because they're still continuing the same food or same intake
Right.
of the amount and everything, right? That's what I also took from there. So obviously that was your pivotal moment, and you continue what you're doing. What you're sharing this with everybody, and now, so how are you helping others now to do the same and change their journey? What does that look like for anybody who's with you now?
So usually ladies, may see something like this or hear me and they would say, okay, yeah, my doctor said either I'm diabetic, pre-diabetic, or I'm on blood pressure medicine, or I have a family history of high blood pressure or heart disease or whatever. And they're like, okay, I really don't want to go on medication. So what can I do? And I was like, oh, well, wonderful. I'm glad you asked, because a lot of people just want a prescription. I said, so we can I have a 5-day cleanse program that people get introduced to plant-based eating, because sometimes, especially in my family, my culture, things like that, people are like, I don't think I never want to eat meat again. So I now try to stay away from the word vegan, plant-based, or something like that. When I'm talking to them, I just like, okay, this is what you want to do. We can definitely get that going for you. So
But it's a cleanse.
yes, yes. And so that's I did call it a detox before, then people got upset with that. So I was like, okay, we'll call it a cleanse. It's really just healthy eating. Healthy eating
Mm,
where you eat, whole foods, fruits and vegetables, whole grains, and just give people an idea of how they would feel, because sometimes you don't realize how bad you feel until you start to feel better. So some people think they feel fine, they sleep well, you're exercising, even if they're trying to do all those things, they're still not to their top performance, right? So they're always like, oh my goodness, after 5 days they've lost weight, they're sleeping better, they have more energy, they're not as foggy with their mental clarity. These are the words that they use. And it really inspires them to keep going. And so from there, we can do a 12-week program to where we really dive into their eating habits and then focus on other aspects of lifestyle. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm now certified in lifestyle medicine, to where we focus on exercise after the nutrition, sleep, stress management, social connections, and then also make sure you're not in any toxic substances like smoking. So we definitely can do that. We work in one-on-one or group program. Just depends on what we have going on at the time, different times of the year, I offer different things for people.
That's quite interesting to see that you know, you're mentioning that okay, there were certain trigger words for people, you know, to go through, and you had to change. Obviously, cleanse being now the preferred language they're okay with. But it's quite interesting to see so how the connotations are there for, oh yeah, let's do a detox of our take into account. Maybe it's just because it's been thrown about so many places. Everybody's trying to talk about, oh, let's just do a detox this, detox that, and you're like, oh, not another person talking about a detox here. No, I don't want to do it. And yeah, you can't say, oh yeah, let's go, let's try being a vegetarian. No, I don't want to. You know, I want to eat meat. So it's great to know that you worked that out and you honed into, okay, let's see, try different things and see what works. So it's what I'm hearing here as well in your journey is a trial and error of being what you're presenting out there. So this takes me to the question of, obviously you're doing all this. How you look after yourself in terms of, you know, being your best as well whilst you're looking after others. Is there a routine, or some people like to call it ritual, or something, you know, what do you like to call it, and is there one that you follow?
So for me, it's spiritual. I definitely make sure that I am reading scripture in the morning, and I also have my own like a nutrition plan that I follow. I don't necessarily have to like write it down or be as strict anymore, because I'm more disciplined at this point in time because I've been doing it for so long. So I definitely still try to stay on the health journey with eating whole foods. And I tell people I'm not perfect. I don't want to ever be a hypocrite. So sometimes, yeah, I eat some junk food, some chips or something like that. But I definitely try to stay on track, and I do exercise on a regular basis. So anywhere between 5 to 7 days a week. Actually was working out with my trainer this morning. And so I tell people everything that I'm, you know, trying to get you to do, I actually follow myself. I'll also follow the recommended guided of sleep. So I've always been a sleeper. I have to tell y'all this story. I'm sorry. So I'm the youngest of 3 with my parents. And they said when I was born, 2 weeks old, that they remember standing like over my crib and wondering if I was still breathing because I was sleeping so long. And starting at 2 weeks old, I would sleep through the night. And they're like, oh my gosh, you know, our other children didn't do that. What in the world? So I've always been a sleeper. So if there's anybody with trouble with sleep, I'm always looking at them like, what do you mean you don't sleep? Like,
You're like, you'll pass out anywhere.
yes, exactly. Like, I will do it. So yeah, so I do all that, and I definitely keep going. So every day, I have some sort of all 4 of those things that I'm doing. Also make sure I'm drinking plenty of water. People at work laugh at me because I have my big old bottle of water I come in with. Trying to make sure I drink all that to stay hydrated. But again, this journey started with my own health, trying to figure out what's going on, and I do it mostly for me, and it's just kind of spilling over onto others at this point in time.
And I love that you just shared in terms of your routine. In terms of, you know, you mentioned so reading the scripture and following on to your regular exercises and everything. And I love that you mentioned your you know, you love the sleep. I mean, we all love that sleep, and I'm the same. I can sleep anywhere. You just put me in a corner and say, yep. This is where you sleep. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. I'll just like pass out after 5 minutes, so I'm gone. So this is good as well. So is there also a pattern to sleeping? You know, because a lot of people say you need to have your 7 hours, 8 hours. Some even now talk about 6 hours. In your point of view, what's the best number out there, if there is such a thing? What you're saying on that?
Yes. So now that I'm certified in lifestyle medicine, of course, sleep was a big part of the exam. And 7 to 9 hours is where you find that sweet spot for adults. So it actually is linked to being lack of sleep or sleeping too much, different medical causes. So the same ones that we're trying to prevent, the high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, can all be linked also to sleep. If you're not sleeping well. Also, your mood is linked to your sleep. So some people that are depressed or anxious, they're not getting enough sleep or sleeping too much, that can definitely link too. So you definitely have to look at that. So it's not just you want to refresh and feel better. It's actually having impact on your actual how your body works.
Wow. So for the adult, you said about 7 to 9 hours. Is that what you said? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
That's quite interesting to know, right? Because you hear all these people now talk about various numbers, and you're like, which one is the correct one? And here's one now as well. But I believe what you're saying, is going to be 7 to 9 hours. Is quite a good number. Because myself, in my experience, yeah, I've noticed as well. So if I oversleep certain days, I feel, I'm feeling actually more tired after I've woken up, or I've got a mild headache throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
And if I've slept a little bit, on the right time, if it's 6 to 7 hours, 7 hours is usually what I have my alarms set to. If I've woken up on the times, uh, it's a great day. I'm not feeling tired. I have the energy. Everything is going fine. So yeah, 7 to 9. I believe that would be the correct time, obviously, depending on how the sleepers people are, right?
Yes. And it also
Um,
makes a difference too that you want to have the same like time frame. Like so you want to go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time. So that's another clue, excuse me, clue for people that if they're having trouble sleeping, feel like, oh, I just have to lay in the bed till I get these 9 hours. But no, you want to still get up at the same time every day because a lot of people, especially residents, I was like, that was a bad time for me, not being able to sleep in residency. But still, if you can still get up, like now my body just automatically wakes up at like between 4:30 and 5 because that's usually when I get up to exercise, no matter what day of the week it is. So once your body gets used to that, it'll wake up. And because I always wondered, how people never use an alarm clock to have to get up. That was like my grandmother. But I'm now seeing that if I have that cycle going, because I would just go to sleep anytime, that it actually does make a difference. So that's another tip for people listening.
yeah, that's actually a good thing, share there, because that was my next question in terms of that was coming in my mind, right? So in terms of what is a good regular pattern, going at regular times and waking up at regular times, because in my view as well, I used to be the one who had 10 different alarms at one point to wake me up. Every alarm is after 5 minutes
Mm-hmm,
first,
mm-hmm,
and to the actual time that I want to wake up at, right? So I was that bad. But then eventually, what I've noticed is because I was waking up those time I had irregular waking patterns and irregular bedtime patterns as well, right? So as I'd be out and about with friends and all things like that, and then go to work and then
mm-hmm.
come back and sometime maybe sleep late and have an afternoon naps and things like that. So it was all over the place. Um, as soon as I had a little bit of a structure that I built about that, what I'm now noticing is, yeah, as I call it, the body clock wakes you up anyway, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's the time or not. You're slowly waking that up. What sometimes I've noticed is I've woken up 5 minutes before the
Mm-hmm.
actual time, and the alarm hasn't gone off. I don't even hear the alarm nowadays. It's like it's gone off, So I'm always up before that. But it's there now that it happens, but just because you've been doing it consistently. So being disciplined with your consistency is there. And what I've also noticed is that because I've been going to bed at a particular time for a few months, my body is also now saying it's bedtime, right?
Mm-hmm.
At that particular moment. And like, oh no, but I'm out. So it's like, yeah, so it's like saying should be in bed by now, but like no, it's like, yeah, I can't do it now. So I love the fact that how your body works with your discipline, and if you're consistent, and hence, as you said, your grandma was doing this without clock, because the
Right.
body was suggesting what's next to do now. You should be doing this, right? And we like, yeah, we acknowledge it and we do it. So you mentioned talking about scripture, and also in your bio, you said, it's all inspired by faith. not medical advice. So take us through that. How does that work, and what does that look like for people listening to this now?
Yes. So I tell people I grew up Christian, still am. And just to be out talking to you today, people knew me back when I was growing up. They've been like, oh my goodness, I can't believe, Amanda's out there talking, because I'm a person that likes to stay in the background. If you ask me a question, it would be very short, to the point. My grandmother always say, you don't have to give more information than what they ask for. So it would just be something there, and I'll go hide. But I believe that I would be a physician at the age of 12. And just that belief and going through, because there was no one in my family that was in medicine. This is before my own health journey started. And I believe that I came to that wake up call that it had to be 199. If it was, 190, it wouldn't have struck me. If it was 202, it wouldn't have struck me. But that 199 was that tipping point. And I believe that God was speaking to me at that time. It's like, I'm about to take you through a journey, so that way you can help other women when you are older and you get to this point. I did not know that at the time, but again, I believe that my faith, that I was taken there, because all things work together for the good. And that's one of the scriptures I follow. And also, I have plans for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in the future. And I believe that I'm here giving women hope, that even though that they may be overweight, they may have been diagnosed with different illnesses, that they don't have to be, for lack of a better word, a slave to those things. They don't have to be on medications, or at least as many medications that they may be taking, because the top 10 causes of death, 7 of them are linked to nutrition in the US. And I believe if I just use my voice, even though I'm kind of shaking over here, even though I love to talk about this stuff, I'm still a little bit nervous to be out in the open. But I know that if I can continue to get this word out, and more people actually know that they can actually change their own health and well-being, that they would be a better person on this earth. Like I said, everything that we do in our body actually affects our mood. And I just think, if everyone in this world felt better, they'll be nicer to each other also, so there's so much in this world going on, and we just need a little bit more kindness, a little bit more understanding. And again, I tell people I'm not perfect. There's days that I'm just not as happy, even on this journey. But I just feel like if we have that hope, and my own spiritual connection, and I definitely, my spirit speaks to someone else's spirit. And I hear that all the time, especially with patients and clients. They're like, I don't know, something just, when you would talk, or I would see your picture or a video or something like that, I was just kind of drawn to you. And I just think that is, the God in me speaking to the God in you. And that's where I'm going, and I'm just going to keep going.
I love that. That is so great, and it's wonderful that a question came to my mind, and because that was the best reply there. It's great to see that, obviously, that the calling in you, that you're guided to, and you had already thought about it something when you were 12. So you're still on that journey. You're creating that. It's been you're harvesting it. It's a seed that you had sown at that time, and so you're still harvesting it. It's gonna be obviously one day a huge tree bearing lots of fruits, right? So at the moment it's a young tree. You're still in that journey. You're under the shade because it's giving you the shade. So and people are joining you to come to that shade as well when they're trying to escape the sun, and they're there having that little conversation with you and coming. I love that. It's great. Taking us through a typical journey or a case study of your patient, or anything that you are able to share that you think somebody the listener should know or resonate with. Any success story that you want to share that you think that will be amazing for the listeners now?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like one story, because it's like different stories resonate with different people. So the one that I had, I would say recently, would be a lady that has pre-diabetes, did the 6-week program. That's, I did 6 weeks initially. And she said that one, she didn't even feel like cheating, because usually people are like, oh, how can I stick to this? I don't think that would be good for me. And just because she felt so much better, like she felt lighter, not just in pounds, but lighter in her spirit. We're waiting for her final blood sugar numbers now, but I know they're going to be better because she's still sticking to the plan. I just actually sent her a message the other day, even though she's done with my program. And just the fact that she doesn't feel like she has to cheat because she feels better, that's the biggest success that I ever can actually say, because most people are like, oh, I've tried things before and I just can't stick with it. But when you feel so much better inside, it's like you don't have that temptation to go backwards. Again, we're never going to be perfect, but there's always going to be those things that like, oh, after I ate, such and such, whether it was, a piece of steak, and I have other patients that say that, like steak, or some trying to eat beef, that I didn't feel good. And I was like, that's your body saying, don't give this to me. So listen to it. Otherwise, you're going to go back down that slippery slope and feel like in that just kind of daze all the time. And they're like, I was like, you never should feel that way when you have, so a fresh salad or a piece of fruit, right? Your body usually doesn't say that because that's the nutrients that it needs. So just hearing her say that, like that, I mean, brightened me forever. Like just that temptation not to even want to cheat or go backwards.
That's actually that's so relatable to hear that, because I mean I'm not the stricter person when it comes to my eating habits, but there are some times I try to do certain things, but yeah, I can't. For me, I'll put myself out there in terms of like I don't eat for the case of right, it's lunchtime, oh it's breakfast time, it's dinner time. I don't eat that way. I just eat when I'm feeling hungry, or I just eat throughout the day here and there. So when I was a bit more younger, my eating habits were all over the place. I definitely never ate. Nobody would find me at home until I was starving. That's when I would like find my way back home, like, oh, what's for lunch or what's for dinner, right? And otherwise they're not seeing where is Zishan? He's out with his friends. And when I have my own money and things like that, it was the same. I never actually wanted to, because I have few friends who are like proper foodie people, talk about restaurants, talk about this, and I'm like, I cannot relate, because I just eat because I need to eat, otherwise I'll be starving and I'll have no energy. So
Right.
And for me, it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it tastes nice to me, as long as it tastes nice to me, I'll eat it and all things like that. But now and then I try to, as I'm getting older, I try to obviously, see if I can be better at having better nutrients to give the body to sustain itself and be a bit more flexibility, things like that. But yeah, I found myself yo-yoing through that. As you said, I'll just do a cheat day now. I mean, last week I was planning to do myself like a smoothie, because I love smoothies and these vegetable drinks like carrot juices and all that stuff, right? I was like, oh yeah, I will do that for last week, but I chickened out after 2 days just because it became -7 over here, and I was like, yeah, it's too cold. I want some warm food, And then today I made myself another nice smoothie out of kale and carrots and all that stuff. I'm like, I love all that stuff, but I cannot stick to it. So what do you suggest a person should do? I mean, I am a stickler for discipline. I love discipline, but this side is not possible. Is there something that we are not looking at and you think you can nudge us to it?
So that is definitely a hard thing. I tell people you have to look deep inside. That's like one of the first 2 weeks of the program that we really focus on, that you have to find something deep within yourself of why you want to change. I know if it's like, okay, why do you want to do it? Like some people may just say that. But for me, it was, like I said, a real conviction. Like there's something that like, I'm not letting 2 be the first number of my weight. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then from there, it went from not just my weight, but I don't want to have these illnesses that are in my family. I know I have the genes for it, And every time I go to eat something that is not what we say a good diet, like I said, that doctor said you cannot out exercise a bad diet, that I'm putting myself at risk. And so that was my own click in my mind. And, you know, we have to try to go through that with each person. Like, what is that for you? Because everyone has that point where they draw the line in the sand. It's like, I'm not going back there. So we have to kind of pull that out, because sometimes as we get older, we forget what that may be. And like you said, um, when we're older, we think of, oh, you know, what can we do now? But if we start young, and I love having young patients come to see me, like between 18 and 25, because I tell them, I'm like, you get one body. How you treat it now is how it's going to repay you when you're 50, 60, 70. And I have a lot of people in that age group that they're not happy with how they treated themselves when they were younger. So let's look at that right now to see what we can do to prevent that from happening to you. Especially, like I said, if they have a huge family history, like if you do the same thing your family members do, that is going to be your destination. But we can, you know, detour now. So what are we going to do? So yeah, it just kind of takes a little bit of your own self work to really dig deep and figure out what's going on. And if you don't find it, then that's going to be easy for you to just slack off and say, oh, you know what, I don't care, I'm just going to go. And not to downplay anyone that has that struggle, because sometimes it does take, you know, mental health professionals, which I definitely have worked with, to kind of see what's going on deep. Some people have some deep things going on within themselves that they just may have to deal with and bring out, so they can come to the other side.
I love that, actually, and thank you very much for you know, touching upon that. Is to hone into your why. Why are you doing this? You know, why is it so important to you to have a better diet, or to lose the weight that you're looking at, or prevent all those illnesses that your you know, the family has. All families have something, right? We have that in genetics. Now, do you want to activate those or not?
Right.
Is the case, you know, because I come from a background of my family has diabetes and the ulcers as well, and you know, there's a couple of things that have. So I am a carrier of all the stuff. Now, whether if I want to have them by the time I am 50, 60, it's my choice to do that. It's something you touched upon, you're getting those younger patients. And, you know, what came to my mind was, you know, when you are at that age, like 15 onwards, you're not thinking of these things. You can pretty much eat anything that time, right? And everything just like works out. And what I've noticed is, because I used to say that to a few of my friends who were younger than me, it was like, as soon as you got after 25, it's all downhill, guys. It's all downhill. So, you know, after 25, 30, it's all downhill. So like, and you know, they were like, why do you think this? And I'm like, look, so my observation was this, right? What I observed was from, like, let's say from 15 to 25, you are very active, you are out and about, you know, so whatever you eat, your metabolism is supporting that lifestyle that you have, because it's using the energy. You're converting all of that to energy because you're active, you're doing this, you may be cycling, you're doing whatever you're doing. But as soon as the older you get, the less things you do, at least in my observation, that I was looking around everybody around my family, myself, my friends. So you're doing less and less. You're still active, but you are less active. You are not as active as you were when you were 20, maybe, you know. So now you're doing the same. So, but your eating habit has increased at the same time. It's not decreased as the same amount of everything else that you're doing. And that was my observation, that, okay, this is where I'm like, okay, it's all downhill, is because you're not now looking after yourself by the health side of things, because you're now maybe less active, where if you were out and about 5 hours a day, you know, being active, exercising, hanging out with friends, jogging, whatever, maybe now you're doing for 2 hours, but now you're eating a little bit more than what you were eating before. And that extra food has to now go somewhere, right? And it has to do something. That's how I looked at it. Yeah. I don't know if it's correct or not. What's in your opinion?
So you have the theory of, out exercising a diet though, right? Like just what you were saying. So you would think that that would be the case, right? So yeah, the more active you are, you know, you can lose the weight and it would be easier. So definitely that could be. But I also tell people that you probably don't have as much buildup of the cholesterol, the inflammation, all those things that lead to these illnesses as you get older, right? So that's why I said you have to change things now so it doesn't continue to build up as you get older. I don't think there's like a switch necessarily that's going off at that point in time in your life, but it's just building up. So, you know, there's been research studies that show that there's fatty streaks, which leads to heart disease later on, that actually show up in adolescence, right? So that's when we're just eating whatever we want. And then it just like slowly continues to build up over time. So it's not that we're necessarily not as active, but that is one thing, because we do have a lot more like technology, sitting down on the job. We're not as active. Yes, you definitely are not burning as much calories, but there's still something that's going on in those blood vessels that we want to try to prevent. And like I said, we can even reverse for some people as we get older. So it is true and false at the same time.
I actually love that, and I'm taking the aha moment here myself. You know, like you know, you're quite right in terms of whenever we are eating from beginning is building up. You know, is as I was saying, that extra eating habit that you have now has to go somewhere, right? So it's from a very young age you are building a habit of whatever you're eating, and then some of them, you know, gets worked out, some stays behind, and then what is staying behind, you're building that up, and at one stage it does then obviously, you know, surfaces up and appears in your health, right?
Right.
And
yes.
and I love that. We had a question from one of the viewers sent to us, and now we not usually get this sent to me via an email, you know, and to ask the next guest, and you happen to be that next guest that I'm going to ask this to. So it might take us off subject, I don't know, but let's see what happens, you know. So the question they asked was, what are the greatest lessons you've learned from a past failure, and what keeps you going in life? I think I kind of know the latter one, but let's hear what you have to say.
So past failures, oh my gosh, there's like so much. I would say trying to stick with this topic is I tried to initially out exercise my diet, since we were already talking about that, right? So I went from doing nothing, like I said, as a teenager, and slowly trying to increase things. Even in residency, my stepfather would laugh at me because he said, "You, the only person I know, would go to a gym and not come home sweaty." I'd be like, "I was just trying to do a little bit. I wasn't trying to do too much, you know." So that would be the thing, like from there. But what would keep me going? Yeah, I already said it. So from trying not to develop those illnesses that are in my family. So if I can keep going from there. Again, I tell people, like, I'm out here doing things because it's selfish. Like, I'm out here doing it because this is what I love to do for my own health. And it just happens that it's an overflow from what I do to help others. And I think this is my calling. So I'm out here doing it. And no matter what people say, you know, whether people like, "Oh my gosh, you know, I don't care, I'm still going to eat meat," that's fine. You can eat meat if you want to, but this is what I'm going to do. So you can, everyone has the right to live their own life. I'm just, someone's out there looking for my message and my story. So I'm out here delivering that.
I love that. I love that. That's the best answer there. And so in regards to, I mean, if people wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to get in touch? Obviously, Instagram, and what other places you're all there?
So I have a website, www.dramandamd.com. You can submit email through there. It always has a list of my programs and a resource. I have a few free resources on there where, like, if people want to try plant-based eating, there's a few recipes that people can try. I'm also on Facebook, Dr. Amanda Adkins, also. So, oh, and I have a YouTube channel where I did answer a few answer a few questions that people had about different things about transitioning to plant-based eating and how that helps. So people can actually go there and get some questions answered. And then, of course, if anyone ever has more and they want me to answer questions, then usually I go on the YouTube channel and answer those questions for them.
That's amazing. Actually, YouTube and getting question answers is actually is best thing. I suppose they can send you an email of what they're going through and what questions they have, and then look forward to a YouTube at one point, right?
Yes.
So in that, when how does that work for anybody who's trying to connect with you? Do you do group sessions or is it one-to-one? And obviously every individual is an individual, so it's personalized to that person, right?
So the one-on-one private sessions are, we definitely try to gear on what you're working on. Like I said, my last person was pre-diabetic. I've had people with hypertension before, and then someone that just obese and wanted to work through like their family history thing. So to prevent that, kind of like my story. So, and then the group program, I offer that probably up to 4 times a year. So that's all on the website. So when that time comes up, I also advertise it on social media, so people will actually know when those times are coming. But you can always schedule a free consult call with me, which I have the link, I believe, on my Instagram channel. We can go there and, you know, we can kind of talk to see if we'll be a good fit for private coaching sessions to actually have you meet your goals. So I have different ways that people can, you know, come and work with me if they would like.
That's actually lovely to, you know, to see that you are able to, you're approachable in different ways, and the group sessions are there. So keep an eye out, everybody who's listening to this now, and in the future as well. So before we wrap this up, we should be wrapping this up shortly as well. So I would like to say thank you very much for your time, and it's been an amazing conversation that you've shared with us. Definitely, and I have moments for myself here as well, who's yo-yoing with the eating habits, you know. So before we wrap this up, what would you like to say to people who are listening to this at the moment as a wrap-up comment for them?
I always leave people with, you can always eat healthier, and you can do that very simply by just adding fruits and vegetables to every meal. Especially in the US, we're definitely fiber deficient. So if we can just add more fiber into our diet, that would definitely help. So add a fruit and vegetable at every meal, and that will get you well on your way. And remember, you cannot out-exercise a bad diet.
I love this one actually, and I think I will keep that as a note to name it as the episode name when it goes on to podcast. You know, you can't. What was it again? You can't.
You cannot out-exercise a bad diet.
You can't out-exercise a bad diet. So definitely that's going to be the name of the podcast now when it goes up on that version. So thank you very much, Dr. Amanda, for taking the time out and sharing your amazing journey and tips for people to as well look into things and how they can get in touch with you. And everybody who's listening to this podcast now live on Instagram or the podcast version later, if you had a aha moment or a spark in you, it's your duty now, and it's actually our duty now to share this with somebody else. So if you're thinking a name that's popped up in your mind, tag that person to watch this episode. Or if you think that somebody should be watching this, share it with whomever, because we shouldn't keep the inspirations with us. We should share it with everybody else there, because if we have that spark, it might create that spark in them as well. And that's all we need for that person to take that action, to start what they want to start or make that change. And if they're sitting on the fence, and this might be the episode that gets them going. So thank you very much for everybody else as well. Thank you again, Dr. Amanda, and we will see you everybody else next time. Bye-bye.